right. I think we're live. That's up. I got that set up. Okay, we got our first individual in the chat. Don't know what that means. I cannot read Arabic. Oh, good. I can see some familiar faces, see some familiar names. Kapruki's in the chat. He says looks like Black Merlin or Black Gandalf. I'll translate that as Juju. That's what I'll say. Kapruki says Juju. Veronica and Bu says hi. Thank you very much, Veronica, for joining us. That's a new name. Let's have a look now. Okay. Let me present. Thank you everyone for joining us. The day ones are here. Hello, says Khalid. Hi, Khalid. King says Kapruki. Okay. All right. This is good. This is very good. I'm here. I'm actually here on time for once. Bang on time. You know, that's good. And that's thanks to King as well, because King said I got 30 seconds and I thought, oh, shoot. Let me get on this. All right. Music playing. I don't want that. I want that. Cool. No. Okay. All right. I think this is interesting. Yeah, let's do it that way. Let's do it that way. All right, family. We got a few people in the chat already, and Kapruki's hunting. He's on a hunting mission right now. Okay, cool. You're cornered, King. Sorry. I promise it wasn't an ambush. I did not plan this. Okay. Well, King says, forgive me anyway, Kapruki. You're gonna have to. Hello, Patrina. Patrina Oldfield is in the house. All right, let's get this started. I've got something up on the screen that might interest people, and I will add to the stage. Yeah, 5 minutes in isn't bad. I think we can start. Latecomers can join us whenever they want to. King, wave at me if you're good to go. Cool. All right, good. All right, we've got the King's Monologue with us here, and he is not new to, like, well, let's say there's 14 people watching right now, based on what I can see. They just gone up by one, but I don't think any of those 15 people will not know who the King's Monologue is. As people join us, again, there might be some newcomers, but if you're not familiar with the King's Monologue, you need to get yourself familiar ASAP Rocky, because he is doing dynamite work on, I want to say Black history, but we're past that now. We're discovering that Black history is just history. It's not even like it shouldn't even be called Black history. It's like we were everywhere. I kept having people in the chat yesterday say we were everywhere, and we were. The memers are correct. We was kings and even more. So King's Monologue is doing incredible work on history, full stop. And it just so happens that you can't talk about history without talking about black folk, wherever you go on this planet. So you want to check out his channel, check out his stuff in Egypt. And just in case, you didn't know about him. But anyway, so I see some more people join us. Hi, Wildflower. Big up yourself, McKing, says Petrino Phil. That's brilliant. King, let me let you introduce yourself. Before I let you speak, I just want to say this live is about something is long in the making. It's about a video that the King made on his channel, his second channel called The King Mono Show. And you need to check out that channel as well and subscribe to that channel, because the topic for this live is actually not on the King's Monologue default channel. It's on a second channel called The King Mono Show. So get yourselves over to that channel. If you're watching this back and you can't join us live, get yourself over to The King Mono Show and subscribe to that channel and watch that video in its fullness uninterrupted there. King, can you just introduce yourself just for the fun of it, please?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say. Thank you, first of all, for having me on the channel. I'm the King. Well, yeah, I'm the King's Monologue. You've done a great intro, man. Black History Network. Check us out. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Those are the 3 main platforms. Website still under construction after 18 months. So could do a bit of help there, but no, just that's it really.
Cool. That's good. Okay, so let's start here. Hello, AB Omar. I love what you guys do, he says. Thank you very much for joining us. That's a new name I'm seeing tonight. I hope my shooters are ready. Wildflower, King's Monologue. Well, King will is on duty tonight with me. So Wildflower, be ready. Watch for the trolls. This is a troll sort of attracting topic, this. Anyway, so I just thought we'd start here. So the King made this video a few months back, and it was about the origin of Moorish dancing. Now, it's almost like we're all on the same wavelength, because before you made this video, I can almost say about, honestly, I can say about a few weeks before, I don't know what I was doing, and I thought, Moorish dancing. And I remembered that in some parts of the country, in the UK, Moorish dancers blacken their faces. And I thought, oh my goodness. But I kept it to myself. I thought, wow, like I don't know. I hadn't done the research or anything like that. So it was just one of those random thoughts. And I thought, oh, don't just put that in the back pocket for some point and go back and look at it and research it. Maybe there's enough in there for a video after you've done your research properly. And 2 weeks later, I promise you, I kid you not, I hadn't searched this in Google, so it's not like the algorithm gods or of the ether would have waved this over to the King's Monologue or whatever. It just 2 weeks or so later, or a week later, I see this video on the King Mono Show, and I'm like, what the heck? It was absolutely mind-blowing. And he does this video, and he lays out how the Moorish dancing tradition, which is one of England's oldest folk dancing traditions. I looked it up. I think it's number 2 or number 3. There's something else called, I can't remember this name now, that's older, that goes back to William the Conqueror times or whatever. But that's another side thing, because actually apparently there were Moors in William the Conqueror's army when he came over across the sea from Normandy or whatever it was supposed to have come from. That's another side story. But
there's always a side story.
I know there's always a side story. But so he does this video, and check it out. Like I said, he goes into the origins of this dancing, but it is this year. That's what I was saying. This folk dance is one of the oldest in England, and it just so happens when you see this video, we'll play this video. We got King's permission to play it and whatnot, so no copyright strikes or whatever. So we'll play this video. It's a very short video, and the King will take us through it and talk us through it. But the inspiration for this video, for this live, and having the king here isn't even the video itself. It is to defend his body of work on this topic, okay? Because when I watch this video, it's the kind, I think you said it before, there are certain topics that attract trolls and not necessarily trolls, but misguided individuals, people knee-jerk reaction type.
And trolls.
Sorry?
And trolls.
Yes, and trolls. And this is one of those topics because it's like a protected what would be the phrase? It's like a kept sort of pet of English culture. And so no one really wants it to be touched. Certainly not by black folk claiming that we was Moorish dancers as well. So it certainly did attract the trolls in the comments. One of them I've just taken a screenshot, and he says, you can see it on the screen. I hope you guys can see it on the screen. Yeah,
I want to deal with this entire comment, by the way, because it's like
okay, good. I just wanted people to see the kind of reactions the video got, and then we'll play the video. So I don't know how you want to deal with it. Maybe I just wanted to show this as an example. Oak's Arm, he said, he comes in very knee-jerk reactionary type of comment, no evidence, no facts. He just drops a little drive-by shooting type of grenade here. This is rife with fallacies, conjecture, and speculation. And King says, list them. So he goes away. We never hear anything again from Oak's Arm. He just done his drive-by shooting to discredit King's work. And what's it all about? What's it all about? Whatever. Says he comes back and he defends his friend Oak's Arm, and he comes with a whole load of rubbish. And King, I'm going to let you talk now, and you can kind of give an overview of your defense to this before I start us off on the actual video. So go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to. First of all, just to be clear, my position will not be to defend, because there's nothing to defend here. The video is quite clear on the premise, and the burden of proof lies upon anyone who's dissenting it to basically prove that what I'm saying is incorrect. And unfortunately, this comment fails to do that. And this is what they do, like to raise strawman arguments. So let's look at the first one. It says, for a start, blacking up by Moorish dancers is purely a 19th century practice. Who said it wasn't? First of all, I don't know if that's true, but secondly, so what? If it started in 1800 or if it started 10 years ago, what difference does it make? The point is that they're putting on blackface for a reason. Secondly, one of the reasons why it was likely, if it did not start till the 19th century, like he says, although I doubt it, because he hasn't provided any proof, the reason would be because there were still black people in the UK up until the 19th century. So they didn't have to do blackface because the people doing the dance were actually black. Yeah, that's kind of the logic behind that, yeah? And then goes on, the classic Cotswold Moorish dance with the hankies and bells, which is a style first developed from the original 15th century court entertainment, has never involved blacking up. Once again, what's the relevance of this? Has he disproved the fact that the word Morris means Moorish? Is he able to disprove that? Highly unlikely. That's why he's left it alone. If your Moorish origins theory, not a theory, fact, I prove that by showing several dictionary definitions that said Moorish means Moorish. It means done after the manner of the Moors. Moresca means dance done after the manner of the Moors. There's no theory here. That's contemporaneous to the time that you're citing, yeah? The same time period that you're citing, a dictionary which back then would have been used in line with an encyclopedia as a book of facts, states quite clearly that the word Morris means done after the manner of the Moors. No argument there. It's not a theory. It's not my theory either. I simply reported what I saw in the dictionary. If he's got a problem with that, then let him go back in time and have a fight with Samuel Johnson. Not with me, yeah? Or Collins, or Webster's, because they all have the same definition, by the way, for Morris. So you can have a fight with all of those people who are woke back in the 18th century and 19th century when they wrote their dictionaries. Yeah, not with me. Neither do we see the NW star from Lancashire and Cheshire. Okay, now he's just throwing out words. Okay, no one cares. Okay, So go on.
Exactly, and no one cares. But before you even go into further detail on this guy, because he comes back with lots of random other things, lots of other random things. Before you do that, let me play the video, because I want people to now. You've given a good overview there of just a good taster of, again, you're not really defending yourself. What you said in the video stands, and I want people to see this video. I'm going to remove this from the screen.
I just want to say really quickly before you start the video.
Yeah.
In fairness, this video did really well on TikTok, much better than it did here.
Right.
Actually went semi-viral on TikTok, where it had hundreds of thousands of views. And a vast majority of the people who've seen the video, even white British people, kids, teenagers, they all love it. It's actually one of the most positive on TikTok. That's one of my most positively reviewed videos, because they're just like, oh, cool. I never knew Moorish dancing came from black people. And they keep it moving. All right, no problem. You know?
Moorish dancers dress.
And funny you say that, because one of the videos I've got lined up, I'll play, if we got time, I'll play about 2 to 3 minutes of it, and it is a white guy, an English dude, who says the same thing, and he goes as far as to say, quite embarrassed, because I think he's embarrassed of the trolls who will come and say, oh no, there was not Moors. He admits himself that this is a dance that's taking after the Moors, but not just taking after the Moors as in some vague term, but the Moors, he goes on to confirm, were black Africans who took over Spain and were rampant in Spain. So most likely he admits that, but he almost admits it almost, I don't know, I let people see what I mean. He almost admits it. There's a tone of shamefacedness about it, because he knows that, he most likely knows that there's this, it's a dog whistle to a certain group of people who don't like to admit that. You know? But so if we got time, I'll play that. But let's go into the video first of all. Thank you guys. I'm seeing lots of little heart emojis go up and everything, so that's really good. All right, let's go. I'm gonna hit play on this video. King, do you have anything to say before I start, or should I just hit play?
Go, man.
Cool.
Yes, in blackface. Well, the modern have you ever wondered why Moorish dancers dress in blackface? Well, the modern explanation is as follows.
Well, back in the 1400s, which is where it's the earliest recorded events are, during the winter they would put rags on their jackets, maybe put bells on, disguise their faces, normally with soot from the chimney and some grease, and predates any racial connotations.
As entertaining as that explanation is, it is as dishonest as it is convoluted. Let's qualify that by looking up some of the earliest definitions available in this dictionary of the English language by Samuel.
Oh, pause it.
Sorry.
Sorry if there's glitches. That's I hope that's not distracting anybody too much.
Okay. Well, it isn't, because I've seen it, but well, guys. I just want to point out, obviously, that guy there, I put him at the start of the video, but I don't know if he's deliberately being dishonest. This could literally be what he's been told about the history of Moorish dancing. He might be totally, and to be honest with you, all of those Moorish dancers might be none the wiser about the origins of the dance and why they put blackface on. And they could just be telling the history or the version of history they've been told, like we all are. So I just want to make that clear that I'm not making a villain out of that guy who does the interview at the start.
Definitely. And it's very likely that it's very likely that he has been told that, and he's just regurgitating what he's been told. So that's a very fair point to make. However, I've got I did a little research on their website and stuff, and it turns out that even they admit that actually it's very likely. I don't know. Basically, I don't know how he's made that mistake, if he has, because you don't really have to look that hard to find information to the contrary, based on the information that you're saying in your video. So I'll hit play.
1827.
Go on. Sorry, King.
I was going to say, and I guess if you're going to turn up on national television and defend it, you probably should have done a bit more research. So we're being too kind.
Yeah, exactly. There's also that would be maybe to be too kind. You're showing up talking about this national institution, and it's the kind of thing that you want to be clued up on. It's the kind of thing that, let's put it this way, an insider can make all manner of fallacious arguments and claims about and get away with. But an outsider, say someone like us, would not be let off the hook with any minor inaccuracies whatsoever. We would not be let off the hook. It would be a case of, like we're going to see later on in the comment section on your video about this, you don't know what you're talking about. You should read up on English history a bit better. Guy you're talking to is English. You know, he might have more dual heritage, but he's also English. So whatever. Anyway, right, I'll hit play.
It states for the definition of morisque, a dance after the manner of the Moors, often written Maurice or Morris, also a dancer of Morris or Moorish dance. In the same dictionary, the definition of Moorish means belonging to the Moors, whilst Moresque means done after the manner of the Moors. And just in case there is any controversy regarding the definition of Moor, the definition for this is a Niger, a Negro, a blackamoor. Shakespeare states, getting up off the Negro's belly, the Moor is with child by you. Also in as early as 1489, William Caxton states, he was so angry he became as black as a Moor. Miranda Kaufman states that Shakespeare described Othello and Aaron of Titus Andronicus as Moors, but references to Othello's sooty bosom and Aaron's coal-black visage make it clear that both were conceived as being dark-skinned. Henry Peacham's drawing of a staging of Titus Andronicus confirms that Aaron was played as a black man. Indeed, the earliest available interpretations of Morris or Moresca dancing leave little room for semantic ambiguity.
Okay, I was going to stop there because I think it's important what you're saying here. And I'll use the time to also say thank you very much to Surfactants, who's kindly donated a $10 super chat. And he says, my two favorite content creators in the same place. Account be damned tonight, lol. Thank you, Surfactant. That's
big up Surfactant. Big up Surfactant. Massive supporter. I appreciate you, man.
So I wanted to stop there and talk about this just briefly. This idea that that we always have to defend whenever we see ourselves in places that the quote unquote experts say that we don't belong. We always have to defend the most dunderhead, ridiculous things. It's like we know. So, for example, in the video at that point, you're talking about how this term "more," when used, it primarily referred to Black Africans. And yes, Black Africans from the north of Africa. That wasn't a wild fact, you know. It was so I just had to pause there to highlight this again, because you're having to do the most in the video there to prove that, look, when these
can I just jump in
with
something slightly maybe not controversial, but unlike the rest of Europe, the UK is quite unique in that the UK has had its own Moors or its own black people for longer than a lot of the rest of Europe. They were there first, definitely in the UK. The UK was peopled first by black people. That's held quite strongly. Dave McRitchie gives names to these peoples, the groups that were black, and obviously we have the historical record ranging from Cheddar Man to the Beachy Head Lady, both, Beachy Head Lady only dating back 1700 years, so that's not a long time ago. And these were native Brits, and they've both genetically and physically, anthropometrically come back as black people, both of them. So in terms of the ancient Brits, the only evidence we have before the arrival of the Anglo-Saxons, the only evidence we have is black people. So that term Moor carries a lot of weight when it comes to British history, probably a bit more weight than it does in other parts of Europe.
Wow. That guys, what we're saying checks out. It completely checks out, and I'll put as for all the sources I will be mentioning tonight, I'll put them in the. I should have done it before the show actually, but I don't want to give anything away in live, so I don't want to list the list of sources in the thing description below. But I will do so at the end of this live. Everything the king said there checks out 110%. Right. I'm gonna hit play again.
As seen in this 1480 statue of an original dancing Moor from...
King, can you tell us about this statue off the top of your head? Do you remember sourcing it and what you thought when you found it?
Yeah, there's quite a few of them. It's not unique. You get quite a few of these Morisco dancer statues. Some of them are actually black people, and some of them are actually white people in blackface. So they're all black, but it all depends which style of Morisco statue you can find. They all seem to date around that time period, and we know Bavaria, that's obviously East Germany, at that time had a large black population. Actually had, without going too much details, actually had black rulers at that time. So so it wouldn't be uncommon to have found black people in East Germany at that time.
This particular statue I found, again, I went and checked it out, and it's from, I think you're right, I think it's by a German guy, but presented in to an Italian court or something, commissioned by an Italian person. But this statue is quite important because it shows it's one of the earliest artistic renditions of someone performing a Moorish dance or a Moorish dance, and this was something that was quite widespread at the time. Widespread enough that they were making statues of black people, but black people on the continent of Europe doing these dances. So we'll go into that in more detail later. But I'm going to hit play right now.
Bavaria, proving the Moresca tradition was one that was widespread throughout Europe. So should blackface be banned, and should people be offended? Perhaps the greater concern is what seems to be the deliberate omission of the black European contribution toward this culturally significant tradition. Indeed, rather than ignoring or burying this tradition, we should allow it to open up an important and honest discourse about the influential pre-transatlantic...
It jumped there. It's okay. We got the gist of it. I mean, I'm just going to jump in and say, I think this is one of the reasons why it got a positive from people who didn't want to troll. One of the reasons it got a positive reception in this video was because I wasn't. My effort was not, oh, let's just ban it.
Black people.
Let's silence it. Let's cancel culture. If you know what I mean. It was like, no, Morris dance all you want, slap on a blackface all you want, but talk about us. Don't omit us from the story. That's what we want. Let's have an open discussion and conversation and say, this dance that we're doing here is to honor the Moors who did it first, the black people of Europe. That, I think, is what I think all of us would want to see. That's what I want to see. Not like, let's bury this. Like, we've had hundreds of years of our history being buried. We're tired of it. We want it talked about, not buried,
But you know what? This is going to be really conspiratorial. Wildflower says, I need to get on TikTok. Yeah, you do. But if you do, subscribe to follow only TKM. Only follow TKM, because otherwise you will end up in a pit of just this disgracefulness. Just don't do it to yourself. Join TikTok and follow the King's Monologue, and only go on to see his stuff. Otherwise, I joined for like a week and that thing almost destroyed me. Anyway, so
TikTok can destroy you, man.
Oh my goodness! Like 1 hour gone like that. I blinked and 1 hour was gone. I was like, what?
Instant's getting like that for me though. Insta used to be rubbish. Now they've stolen so much from TikTok now. I go on there just to kind of like check my messages and stuff, and then I find myself just
Oh, I know.
it's flicking.
I know.
It's not
It's
good.
they know what they're doing. It's very clever. But
Yeah.
so what I was saying was what was I saying? This yeah. So I'm gonna get conspiratorial here. It's like we have this trend going on right now where, under the guise of political correctness,
Mm.
they're taking down representations of black people. Some of them, many of them, I say some, sorry, correction, many of them are not caricatures. Many of them are done rather gracefully or
Yep.
whatever, and they're just taking them down. And what
Yep.
they're saying is, oh, it's racism and we don't want to perpetuate racism. What do you think about that, King? What's going on?
It's very frustrating. I think I revealed to the I did a live stream and I can't remember which one it was, but I mentioned the fact that they're doing that right in East Germany a lot now. So this very area we're talking about, Bavaria, Coburg has a lot of black representations, the Coburg Moors, other black people just kind of like scattered in and around the city, because like I said, this is a place that's had black rulership for centuries that no one's ever spoken about. So they were using the I've lost him. Oh wait, sorry guys, I'm gonna wait for him to come back. I'm going to some comments.
I don't know what happened there, but I'm back now.
You're
Sorry
back
about
now.
that.
Okay, cool. I was about to start talking to the people in the comment, man.
Yeah, just go on. Sorry,
So
sorry.
yeah, they were using the excuse, like you said, of political correctness and the whole BLM movement. Actually, they were using that as well to try and start petitions to pull down some of these statues and to get rid of some of this black iconography, which, like you said, none of it was caricature. All of it was just black people. It's like now just having a black person's face has to be offensive because they've done such a convincing job at telling us all black people were slaves. That's why they're getting away with it, because they would say, oh no, we're not going to display slaves here, that's wrong. You know, it's kind of like, no. He's clearly got a crown on his head. Not a slave. Let's stop being stupid. So very quickly there was this girl who they were getting to front this whole thing. They had a news article on it and everything that had millions of hits. And this girl was like, oh, and she was mixed race of German descent, I'm guessing. And she was like, oh, you know, blah, blah. They had her in the advert, in the news article. And she was basically saying, yeah, we want to get the Coburg Moor taken down. It's racist, this, that, and the other. So I messaged her on Insta. I found her, got her name, messaged her on Insta. And I was like, can you tell me more about why you think this is racist? I'd like to kind of like know what the history is behind it, because I don't see this as racist. These are important black icons. She never messaged me back, but I noted that she was a model. Yeah, so they had listed her as a black activist, this, that, and the other. She was a model. That's what she was. She was a model. I went on her Insta. She's not a black activist. She doesn't do any of that. She just models. So obviously now my conspiracy mind is going crazy. I'm just thinking, you've just hired some black person or mixed race person who doesn't really care about any of this to be the front of your attempt to pull down black iconography in the city, which obviously is very sad, but also very typical, you know. It's like, so yeah, that's to answer your question. That's what I think of it. It's clearly very threatening for them, for there to be remaining black icons in some of these, you know, cities.
I'm quite cynical already anyway. I'm quite conspiratorially minded. That for me nails it. That for me nails because I can't. I think growing up at some I'm gonna say this, right? Some of you might not know what the heck I'm talking about, but some of you definitely will. So growing up in an African background, and going to a Pentecostal church, growing up in a Pentecostal church. And if you know anything about Pentecostal churches, the
They
African
go on forever.
they go on forever, and there's a lot of everyone is your enemy. Spiritual warfare is it's like everyone is your enemy. We don't read the part in the Bible that says turn the other cheek. We read the part in the Psalms that says, Lord, smite my enemies, smite them down. I got them all around me, smite them down. So, and I know a lot of my Black American brothers will know about this as well. And I've pinned it down to that. My conspiratorial mindset, my cynical mindset must go back to that, because I really took that in. I really imbibed that as a young adult, kind of in that space. I'm still a Christian, but I'm not in that I don't know, call it what you will, denomination anymore. But I think I maintain that psyche, and in some respects it's bad. I really look at people adversarially as a default first before I get to know them, and sometimes I've missed great friendship opportunities, and sometimes I've not, and that's just about not missed that. But for the most part, it's helpful because it helps me ward off. It actually helps. It puts, because I'm sorry, but this world that we live in, especially if you're living in this skin and in this space, in this skin, is quite hazardous. Okay, it can be quite hazardous to be a person of color in this part of the world. And yes, fine, it's 2025, but a lot hasn't actually changed. A lot hasn't changed. And I could go into my own personal story as to how I know that, but I won't do that tonight. Tonight's not the night. But I think I agree with you. What you've just said, the story you've just said, is almost nails it shot. There is this attempt to write us out of spaces that we're not supposed to be in, but that we were in. But they're doing it very, very like surreptitiously, very, very sneaky, backhandedly, saying that they're doing it for us. Well, actually, I mean, who does it serve to remove complementary images? You know, you're talking about not slaves, but people dressed in princely attire. Who does it serve to remove that?
Well,
I mean,
it's yeah.
So
I was going to say, we are at the tail end, remember, of, I would say, 250 to 300 years of erasure. We're at the tail end of it now. So all we're seeing is the remnants of what used to exist. We have, entire whitewash libraries. It's hilarious, actually, because I'm doing a big bit of research right now, which I'm not going to reveal. But I can tell you this much. There's a pencil sketch of the king of Monomotapa, which is Zimbabwe. That's the old name for Zimbabwe. So there's a pencil sketch of the king of the Monomotapa being baptized. And obviously he's the king of Zimbabwe. He's a black man. He's being baptized. He's got his Moorish attendants around him. He's got his family around him. But he's being baptized by, I believe, the Portuguese, I think, are baptizing him. So the priest is Portuguese. Okay. So he's being baptized. That's the pencil sketch. Then you have a painting of the very same scene. The painting has been whitewashed. So they've come in after the fact, not knowing the historical context of the image. They've whitewashed the painting. So the king of Monomotapa is white. His wife is white. I think they left one little black attendant. All the Moors are white. Everyone's white, but they've been whitewashed. And what's hilarious is that because they've basically found these in and around the same area, they have to put them both as representations of the same scene and not talk about the fact that one's been whitewashed. So it's there, it's available. I will show it. It's there, it's available. One's been whitewashed, one has not. But they're both the same scene. So for those of you who maybe were under the impression that we're going too far with this whole whitewashing conspiracy, oh, they didn't whitewash anyone, this, that, and the other. Well, explain how the king of Zimbabwe is white, and then, yeah, well, we can take it from there. I feel like I should show you the image. Should I show you the image?
if you got it to hand,
Yeah,
yes,
let me
please,
show you.
please,
I
please.
can pull that up in a second. Let me show you because this will be hilarious for you guys.
Chat, press 1 if you're feeling this. Press 1 if you want to see this image. I want to see this image. Press 1 because I need to know we're not just going off on a tangent here. Press 1, please. Sir Faxon just says, show it, show it, show it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna pull this up.
Thank you, London.
No, I'm not gonna go into too much detail because yeah, this image tells a lot more than than what you think. But let me just quickly save it once and click on this one. This will take about 10 seconds. Just bear with me, yeah.
Oh, that's okay. So Seth Down has just typed in a whole load of ones. Thank you. But whilst you're doing that, I'll say this as well. It is kind of partly my beef with AI right now because they're putting that in, and a lot of people are like they're getting sucked into relying on that first band when you type something into Google. Now it comes out with the AI answer. I would say as a practice, what I'm doing is I think everyone should copy what I'm doing, which is as a practice, I skip what the AI says. I very rarely actually go, and even then I'm annoyed at double checking with the AI. I'm annoyed at myself for doing that, because why I say that is I think I've already had people call me, text me and say, you said something in your video. I went to check Google and the AI said it was rubbish. And I thought, no, this can't be right. The guy's not just making things up. And I've double checked and I've asked the question a different way. And then AI is giving me the answer, that the exact thing that you said with the sources match. And I've said to the people who've done this, I've said, this is why you have to be careful, because I think what they're doing with AI is they're getting us to rely on it as an authoritative source. And once they've got us like that, nobody will question anything that AI says. Apart from that, you yourself will also lose the ability to research. It's not a value that's taken for granted. This ability to go online and know what you're looking for and know how to look for it. Many of us have it without knowing we have it. We have it without knowing we have it. But if you start relying on AI, you're going to lose that in no time. And you're going to be very reliant on AI. Whatever AI says to you goes. And now you won't know how to counter something that you feel is wrong that AI is telling you. So we need to not be dependent on this new wave of, AI, this, AI information kind of. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I would say definitely we shouldn't be relying on AI, especially the default answer it gives you. But I will also add that at very least, it's better than Wiki.
Yeah.
So at least we're getting marginally improved results that Wiki was serving the community, because Wiki was
what it does, if I do end up using it, what I tend to do is on the right hand side of the screen, it gives you the sources that it's used to give you the answer. And I just bypass the AI answer, the spoon-fed AI answer, and I go to the links that it has. That's what I would suggest people do, because they're actually more informative than just the easy answer it gives you. But go on. So we're looking at this image right now on screen.
Okay, so this is the baptism of the king of Monomotapa. Okay, you can see the king there, his wife. I believe these are supposed to be his kids over here. Okay, you can see his Moorish attendants, yeah. And then you can see the people who are actually baptizing are white, which is fair, yeah. But we can all see a clear phenotypic difference between black people in the image and white people, yeah.
Definitely.
And then this is the painted representation of the same image. So let me zoom in a bit. Will it let me zoom? Oh, it's not zooming. I don't know why it's not zooming. Can you see it though?
I can
There's the
definitely
king.
see it.
The only person who they left black, who they didn't manage to get, because they probably thought, oh, it looks like he's in the shadow anyway, is his son over here, who they left black. And then all these are two Moorish attendants who've been turned white. His wife, his black African wife.
Wow.
So so for anyone who was like, whitewashing is a myth, it doesn't exist, explain what happened to this painting, feel free to come up with your
But you know what's funny about that? That
But
painting.
by the way, very, very quickly, the caption also reveals that this is a painting of the same scene. It actually says, you know, the king of Monomotapa.
The thing there. But the thing, what's funny to me is that this wasn't even done recently. This reconstruction was. It looks like Renaissance. It looks like it was
No,
done.
I think this is contemporaneous. This painting. I think the
Oh,
whitewashing is recent. The whitewashing is always recent. This is my point. So the point is that this painting would have looked like the other image before, but it's been whitewashed. So it isn't like this isn't just like, oh, they've just decided to repaint the entire scene. There was an existing painting and they've gone over parts of it to turn
wow.
to turn the characters white. This is whitewashing. Yeah.
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised. Wildflower says they forgot to change the label. Wildflower, I wouldn't be surprised if they couldn't even read the label. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, whitewashing was a massive operation and it was done very haphazardly. You can see it. Just look at the faces and you can see sometimes they can't be bothered and it just cast a big shadow over one half. You can always know it's been whitewashed because there's a difference in the level of detail as well in terms of the clothing. So from the clothing to the face, you'll notice that the detail on the face always seems much less pronounced than the detail that's on the clothing and on the attire. Because remember, they're only concerned with painting parts of it, not the entire thing. And that's why you have these two weird looking guys with too much shadow on their face. It all looks very bizarre. This is a typical of a whitewash painting. Look at this guy. Like they couldn't quite get the shadows right on this guy. I mean, it's just very, very typical whitewashing.
Someone with an image.
Sorry. Let me just put that back. Yeah, go on.
No, that was it. I didn't really have much more to say to that. I just want to being able to just to support the point. We've gone off on a tangent. Just support the point about whitewashing being a real thing.
So there's evidence. There's exhibit number A there. I don't know. I wish the troll would. I wish the troll would right now. Please don't block anyone that wants to put back at that in the comments. Nerd Large, Wildflower, on the other Medjay Archers. Don't block anyone if they want to defend that. But I don't understand what the explanation, the rationalization for doing that would be. Even if you were to say that, oh, it would offend people's sensitivities at the time, like that. Even that doesn't. You just wouldn't show the painting. You just wouldn't show the original. You just wouldn't talk about it. Whereas if I'm going to show you something that was supposedly of a scene that happened in Africa with Africans, I just wouldn't like talk about it at all. If people are so like snowflake-ish that they didn't want to see black folk, I just wouldn't talk about it at all. But to do it and then like go through the work of like ornately and intricately painting this and just painting them white, that's just weird. That is so bizarre. Anyway,
whitewashing, you have to remember, was an operation, and I believe it was done over a very, very short period of time. So imagine the task of basically taking every monarch, noble, and royal painting that you can find and having them all modified. Because remember, you can't just erase them all. You've got two choices. You're either erasing everything or you're doing brand new paintings of everything, both of which are very expensive and very time consuming. Whitewashing was the affordable option for the bottlenecking of history, which is what they went for. They always opted for, and that's why you've always got all these monarchs with these weird afros and things that just don't look quite right. You know?
Oh my goodness. Right. Let me play this video. So this video is of
in the United
somebody who is trying to tell. So it's a British dude, an English guy who's talking about the history of Moorish dancing. He comes at it from an angle of defending the institution because people were claiming that it's racist, that it's blackface and everything like that. Again, my perspective is that is sort of a low-level attempt to whitewash. I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered by people dancing around in the blackface if what they're doing is commemorating something historical. For me, I don't see that as aggressive. In fact, it proves a point. It proves our point that it's anthropological evidence of the fact that we were in certain spaces in certain times. So have at it. But he does this video from that position of defending the institution of Moorish dancing. But I'm going to skip. I'm not going to watch the whole video. I'm just going to skip to the relevant part.
Completely agree with you.
He talks about where it's from. This is another this is another dude, a history channel, talking about this. And again, it beggars belief. It beggars belief that somebody would come on your channel and be all, you don't know what you're talking about. Stop culturally appropriating, stop being an Afrocentrist. When actually there are white guys with, this with more views on their video, claiming this thing, saying this thing. So I'm just gonna play it.
And those examples, by the way, at least of the dancers, were Morris dancers. And there is definitely an association and a connotation and definitely a link with dark-skinned people in Morris dancing, which is often used as already people saying, aha, it's linked to Africans, it must be racist. But I'm going to look into this, and I think you'll find that actually it's not. And actually there are lots of different explanations for Morris dancing. And just because there are several explanations doesn't mean that only one is right, because things can have multiple origins. There could be one tradition which says it comes from X place and one from Y place, and they can be from both, and that these traditions then meld. So all of these examples I'm going to show in this video, one of them might not be correct on its own. It might not just have come from here. There might have been several different pools which then made the stream.
So I think it's important to remind us the context of this. He's trying to defend the institution, and somebody doing that is not going to want to, is going to have a bias, because actually he really doesn't want it to play out that this is really from Africa alone. So I found this in the papers to do with this. They also they do a bottle job. They present evidence, multiple evidence and sources that point to only one conclusion, but then at the end they say it seems it was a multiplicity of sources. I think again, because they're coming at the angle, they're coming from, oh, we don't really want to have to admit that this is really like, in this PC era, this is really depicting Africans. So that's the background this guy's really coming from when he says that. I will say, I don't know if I want to add anything to that, King, but if not, I'm going to press play.
No, go ahead.
So Morris dancing, the name Morris dancing comes from the Flemish word mooriske, and mooriske evolved into the English Morris, and it actually means Moorish. And the Moors, they were indeed a dark-skinned black people from the North Africa. And as you can see from the picture, this Moor does not look...
So he admits that it comes from Moorish, and we finally get to the admission that goes back to more. I don't even know why he has to go to Flemish first of all, but it's this convoluted way of explaining what we all know deep down is going on. But yeah, he finally gets...
Well, you know what I appreciate? I appreciate the fact that he's said quite clearly the Moors are black, because normally this would be taken as an opportunity to go, the Moors are North African people, and then put a picture of the palest North African Kabyle person on the screen and be like, well, they were Moors, or could be anyone really. But he's gone in straight and said, the Moors are black. So respect for that.
Shout out to him. I will link the video in the description after this live is done. But yes, I agree with you. I thought exactly the same thing.
Look a lot like the guys doing the Morris dancing, although there are several things that he does have which are linked to the Morris dancing, which I will get into later. Now, obviously, he has black skin, and this could explain why some Morris dancers will paint their faces black. And it is only some Morris dancers. It's only in a few Morris dancing traditions, because there are many Morris dancing traditions all over England in different parts. So you don't just have one Morris dancing tradition where everyone dresses in exactly the same way. In fact, even in the video I showed you there were two examples of Morris dancers in blackface, who were the Marcher Morris dancers on the border with Wales, and also one where they didn't, where they had the white handkerchiefs and the white costumes, which were totally different to the other ones. And none of them looked particularly a lot like this Moorish chap we have in front of us. And an important thing to remember about the Moors as well is, people will be already going off saying, oh, the Moors, they were the slaves that they brought back from Africa in chains. Not quite. The Moors were actually the black-skinned North African invaders who were Muslim of Spain and attempted to invade France as well to spread Islam through.
Did you hear that, family? We have an honest one. I should have a jingle here. We have an honest one. Ding 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 ding. You know, what
So
did
rare.
you make of that? Was that surprising what he said there, King?
It shouldn't be surprising. You know, that's the bottom line. It shouldn't be surprising for someone to just tell what's patently obvious and where all the evidence points. But like you said, it's become the norm for us to expect people to twist themselves into all kinds of pretzel shapes to try and come up to a conclusion that makes no sense. So, yeah.
Thank you. But I was so happy when I heard that. I thought, wow, I was very, very shocked that he would say that. He goes on, and I'm not even gonna I think we're done with that, but he goes on to say more about the traditions, and he gives other alternative explanations and whatnot. But it's important, I feel, that you've got somebody from from that background, from endogenous to the background of Moorish dancing, saying, yeah, so what? This comes from the Moors. It's a plausible explanation. And whilst we're on the topic, the Moors were actually black North Africans, and they weren't slaves, blah, as some people like to say. Nate Snan says bravo, and bravo is right. Thank you. All right, so I'll take this off, and I wanted to add this onto the screen. So I'm going to add the guy back on, and I'm just going to let you just very briefly take his little rant apart. That's why we're here after all, and it shouldn't take long, but here we go, because we kind of already done it. So yeah, what's it all about says. Yeah, it says a few things there. Do you want to just pick up from where you left off earlier, King?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. This guy's not even worthy. I feel like we've given him enough time already. The only style of Morris dance that historically blacked up is the border Morris with the sticks from the countries bordering Wales. We don't have any way of verifying that, but that's fine. But not by all teams. Once again, not relevant. It's irrelevant. The strength of the video is not based upon the fact that they all do blackface. It's based upon the fact that it's called Morris dancing, and it was a dance done after the manner of the Moors, and that's supported by the cowbells, the tassels. These are all things that you could see in the Morisco statues. Notice he hasn't touched upon that. The dance team showing the video all part. I mean, he just goes on. He's just talking, just waffling. And he says, I'm pushed to find anything in your video that has any historical accuracy. Yet, you notice he didn't touch on any of the, I don't know, how many quotes did I have in that video? Half dozen or more?
Yeah.
Wasn't able to disprove them, wasn't able to disprove the etymology of the word Morris, wasn't able to disprove the depictions of what Moresco dancers look like. Nothing, just waffle. And that's what people do when they, like we've already said, when they're twisting themselves into pretzel shapes, they just waffle. So yeah, that's my response to people like that.
He also went on to say the dancers are not traditional Moorish dancers. They are backup Britannia coconut dancers. This is him on another thread, a brand new thread, going on about some of the people in the video he claims aren't doing Moorish dancing, but they're not actually Moorish dancers. He claims that they're backup Britannia coconut dancers. Now, King replies they are still Moorish dancers. Stop trying to create confusion. And then he replies with a comment which proves you know absolutely nothing about the Moorish tradition. But actually, I've looked into this, and the Britannia coconut dancers are basically a more recent variation of Morris dancing. That's all it is. In fact, let me quickly skip ahead just to prove this before King adds anything. This is a paper from an authority. The quote you can see on screen is a paper from an authority. I think his last name is Heaney, and this is taken from a PDF paper that he submitted online, posted it online about the topic of. He's written a book on the history of Moorish dancing as well, or at least an article on JSTOR about it, an academic article about it with sources and everything. And this guy in this free to read PDF online says, on the website of the current Britannia backup coconut dancers, the dances are known to be originated with Moorish pirates. This is what it says on the website. The coconut dancing. This is what they're saying. So this guy who claims that this coconut dancing that the king put up on his channel, this is from the website of backup dancers who themselves in their tradition believe that this dance originated with, quote, Moorish pirates, which the costume is that of what a Moorish pirate would wear.
He knows what he's saying is not true. This is the bottom line. But this is what they do. They throw as much shit at the wall as they can, and just hope that something sticks. Let me just use as much, and this is a particularly British trait, by the way, to use as much local language and local folklore as possible to try and throw them off, because hopefully they won't know the difference.
Right.
Obviously what he's unaware of is the fact that I only took footage from places that were clearly self-advertised as Moorish dancers. So that's why it was very easy for me to come back and say, well, it's still a Moorish dance. Yeah, they classify it as Moorish dancing, regardless of what you want to call it. But this is what they do. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's not a British dance. Actually, this is a Cornwall dance. It's like, okay, mate, Cornwall's in Britain. Like,
but King, did you know Cornwall wasn't
word salad
in Britain? Cornwall was. It was centuries before it was added to part of the British thing. The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. So therefore, this is exactly the kind of word salad is right that you get with a lot of these people. But again, this on the website themselves, I think this is a paper from 2013, 2014. But on the website of the people, the coconut dancers themselves, they claim that the dance goes back as an emulation of Moorish pirates. So again, it is a derivation of the Moorish, quote, Morisque, quote, Moorish dancing. Okay. He also went and said, and I noticed you didn't bother after a while. You just didn't bother with these comments
because he's just a polemic. And the thing about people like him who are just there to be polemic is they're there to distract you. They're there to take up your time. They're not there. There's never going to be any point where they turn around and go, okay, fair, good point. They're not going to do that. They're there to be polemic. So the beautiful thing about these people is that anybody can do that. Anyone could do that. Like, you could do it to a PhD writing about a subject that they've done for 100, for 60 years. You could go on there and go, well, this isn't true because blah, 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 provide no evidence. And then when they provide evidence, go, no, well, this isn't true. Because all you're doing is arguing against what they say. If they say black, you say white. If they say up, you say down. If they say, anybody can do that. It doesn't take any, it doesn't take any intelligence. What I look for is for people to provide a actual stance to say, well, this is what I believe based upon these pieces of evidence. And then I'm like, okay, let me look into what you believe. And then I'll see if I need to make an adjustment upon my minds. But if their entire argument, like you get with the modern Egyptians, they weren't black. That's not an argument. They were mixed, they weren't black. That's not an argument. So it's just a polemic. You're just saying they're not something. Don't tell me what they're not. Tell me what they are. And he's not providing any of it. So Moorish dancing didn't come from that. Okay, so where did it come from? Yeah, I haven't seen a single theory that he's posted to say Moorish dancing originated here. Yeah, and the word Morris comes from Jacob Moore of Jacob Moore back in 986. out of this district of blah blah blah. They renamed it the dance after his. He hasn't done any of that. All he's going to say is no, 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 no to everything that I post. Idiots.
He says there's little evidence of blacking up by Moorish dancers. This is on another thread that he went on to say. Prior to the 19th century, the practice owes nothing to the Moors, disguises, begging, chimneys, blah blah blah. Basically, a false narrative about the coal miners. Just as a side note, like the life of a coal miner in Victorian England was absolutely. Like it was in the news recently, like they just did a memorial to the youngest victim of coal mining in England. Not coal mining, sorry, chimney sweeping. Just dead from either the fumes or whatever, or falling down the chimney. I didn't read the full article. I just read the headline. But it was a sordid existence. Absolutely. The sheer drudgery of it. So I don't really know that, just on a commonsensical basis, I don't know that with that kind of lifestyle, I mean, people do make a lot of people can make lemonade out of lemon, but I find it hard to believe that the blacking of the faces came from enthusiastic chimney sweepers dancing around the country. It's like I don't know. I just know that their life was not a very pleasant, happy one. But again, that's not to say that that didn't happen at all ever anywhere in history. But anyway, that is an alternative narrative. It doesn't ring true. But he says there's little evidence of blacking up by Moorish dancers. That's not true. I love what you say. You say, what exactly are you arguing with here? Are you debating with the etymology of Moorish? Because all that waffle doesn't disprove that Moorish means Moorish. And again, this goes back to the point. It's not really arguing with you, because you're only saying you've pulled out this definition from a dictionary that, like, everybody knows. What's his name? Samuel Johnson. Everybody knows, who knows anything, knows what an authority historically Samuel Johnson is, because he was one of the first people, if not the first. I think he's the first person to do an actual seminal compilation. He basically invented the dictionary, and in his dictionary, one of the editions of his dictionary, he says from the 1600s, this Moorish is attributed is linked to the Moors. So why is he arguing with you? Like, they do this a lot. Like in the video yesterday, in the live, after finishing the live yesterday, someone in the comments came and he said, one of the Indians I put up, Native Americans that I put up doesn't look African at all. But in fact, that would be a legitimate point to make if I was the one that was saying, trust me, bro, he looks African. No, I quoted to you the person who drew the man and saw him live in the flesh.
Yeah.
So what's if you know what I mean? Who are you arguing against? Because it's certainly not me.
They're arguing against the idea which they find offensive. Right. And the idea that they find offensive is that, in fact, I'm not even going to say offensive. I think they find it terrifying. I think when people know kind of intrinsically what the truth is about their history, every video like this, every exposition that you do or I do feels like a thread pulled on a very cozy jumper that they've been wearing for the past God knows how many 100 years.
Wow, I love that analogy.
So it feels like, and they'll do anything let's do anything to slow them down, stop it, sow seeds of, because it feels real. It feels real. That's the bottom line. Like, it doesn't. I did a live stream. No, I did a recording with Smash Rockwell yesterday, which I'll post up tomorrow. Actually, it was wicked. I had a wicked conversation with Smash Rockwell. Yeah, and he said, in America, they call that hit dog holler. Because what you do is there's a group of dogs, you throw a stone up in the air and the hit dog, the dog that gets hit starts barking. Yeah. He said that's exactly what it is. You know, the person who makes the most noise, that means you hit them. Yeah,
Right.
something's, you know, it's not okay. Yeah, if it was that, oh, it doesn't bother them, they wouldn't even say anything. But the fact that this guy is posting essays in my comment section and I'm responding to him with one-liners, and then he's coming back with another essay, you're a hit dog. That's what you are. Do you know what I mean? You're a hit dog. Something sparked you, you know?
Wow, I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Smash Rockwell for doing that with you. Okay, so this is just so we hit it out of the park completely. This is a website on Moorish dancing, a German website, and I'm just gonna read straight what it says. And it's predicated on explaining a series of statuettes carved sometime in the 15th century, I believe. And I think someone's already mentioned it. Erasmus Grasser was a sculptor. Someone's already said that in the life. So shout out to you. I think it was Sir Facton or Craig. I think it was Craig, actually. Okay, so the Moorish dancers. No, this isn't us again. So for people who want to come, post live and say we're talking a whole lot of Afrocentric rubbish, this is a German website on the origins of Moorish dancing as it relates to the series of these sculptures done by Erasmus Grasser. Made by the sculptor Erasmus Grasser in 1480, the Moorish dancers rank among the most valuable items in the Muncher Stadtmuseum's collections. The name given to the figures most likely derives from leap dances developed by the Moors, which were later performed at the major European courts. The first recorded mention of Erasmus Grasser dates back to 1475, etc., in a submission to the Munich City Council during the year the guild, blah, blah, blah. They sought to prevent him, the young sculptor, from the Palatinate from being granted the status of master craftsman. In their document, Grasser is characterized as a, quote, disruptive, promiscuous, and disingenuous knave. So someone's ox was being gored there. Despite this, he evidently caught the eye with his innovative and unfamiliar style in Munich, and shortly afterwards was awarded blah, blah, blah. Right, we get the point. That what's more important are the figures that Erasmus has created of this Moorish dancing that was going around European courts in the 1500s. Okay, and one of them is this guy on the bottom right hand side. The rest of them, as King says, you can see they're not phenotypically African per se, but they have, you can see the color being washed off their face. When I say phenotypically, I mean default. What we default know as the African facial. But focus on the guy on the bottom right hand here, and as a more sort of closer depiction shows him here. You can see this guy, and King used this statue in his video earlier. But you can see him better in all his glory, complete with bells on his. Can you see that, family? I don't know if you can see this, but bells. This is, if you know anything about Moorish dancing, they attach these bells to their costumes. And this Moorish dancer from the 1500s, he's got the same thing. Okay, fine. He's not got all the other things that would come later, but that always happens with things over time. Stuff gets added on, but you can see the guy with the bells on around his little knickerbocker, whatever that is, socks. I don't know if you want to say anything.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this image already. If you go back, actually, there's more interesting things on that page. Just quickly go back, showing all the images, because a couple of really interesting things on that page. If you scroll, if you look at the bottom, the coat of arms.
Yep.
You know, that's the coat of arms of the Holy Roman Empire.
Yes, I've seen that before. Yeah.
Yes, that's the coat of arms of the Holy Roman Empire. You'll find a lot of this is very, very regional, by the way, to East Germany. You'll find that the Prussian rulers all carried this version of the Holy Roman Empire with the two heads, signifying the east and the western branch of the Holy Roman Empire. which was continued in Prussia. So places like Brandenburg, if you look at the rulers of Brandenburg, Mecklenburg, they all carry this. Even Coburg. Ironically, Coburg is where our queen's from. So yeah, put that in your pipe and smoke it. That's where she's from. So, yeah, there's a lot to digest going on there. But yeah, like I said, in the images, what you'll find is kind of like, yeah, different ones. Some of them in blackface, others of them are black people. But this is Moresca dancing, by the way. But yeah, which would become Morris dancing in the UK. So yeah.
You mentioned the Holy Roman Empire just now. I was pushed. Oh, I'm using his phrase now. I was pushed to believe it, but I think I now do. They are plus what you showed us tonight about how they hide, how they white. If they're whitewashing people on the African continent and flipping Zimbabwe, for goodness sake, goodness knows what they're doing to the black kings. the black kings, the mulattoes, the straight out black kings that ruled in Europe in goodness knows when, the Renaissance and before that. Because I've seen images of Prince Philip of Spain or King Philip of Spain, and the ones that you have to go digging for, when you find them, who else did Without History did a video where he presented a bust or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that guy's there's no doubt that guy was like, I don't know, a Moor. That's I don't know if you know the one I'm talking about.
I didn't know which one you're talking about. Actually, Nydia did a really good reconstruction of him.
Yes.
Nydia did a killer reconstruction of him. So yeah, I know who you're talking about. But remember, when we're talking about the ones that are black, we're only talking about the ones we tend to find that the ones that we agree on were black or might have had some black. The only reason that we can even have that discussion is because they were white enough for the whitewashers to allow their image to survive.
Right.
You know? So when you look at people like Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg, yeah, everyone's like, oh, she's black. Because they didn't completely whitewash her, because she was kind of like, well, she's got ambiguous features. But then black people were looking at her like, no, that's definitely, she's carrying some black there. But then the ones who are proper black, they're all white now, so you wouldn't know. You know? So this is the thing, is that's the that's the thing. So that's the same thing with this King Philip. He's got kind of like ambiguous features that, you know, allowed his image to stay. Well, then King Louis XIV, if you look at the descriptions of him, like the ones I gave in the video that I did about King Louis XIV, and then you look at his actual paintings, there's clearly a divergence. You know, they are polar opposites. They're describing a man who has dark to brown skin, deeply brown skin, thick hanging lips, you know, and a prominent nose. And then they give you someone who has clearly pale skin, very moderate lips. It doesn't match.
No.
So and a black daughter, but we're not going to go into that.
No.
Yeah.
I think that you did a very good video on that. And like you used the analogy of the sweater and the thread just now, and I think there's so much more threads to pull on that sweater. That video left me wanting more. I just wanted more. It's like, it's a shame, guys. Support us when you can, because really we need people doing this full time. It is because no one else is going to do it. But it's there to be done. It's actually there to be done. The information isn't that well hidden, because you just need a bit of tenacity. You need a bit of I wonder to go looking, but nobody has that apart from people like us who are doing this. So yeah. Anyway, about Moresca. So that guy in the video I played, the alternative video I played earlier, he mentioned that it was a Flemish word, Moresca, but actually you can find the word Moresca if you go to the east of Europe as well, and it's related to the dance, the Moresca dance. And here's what the website, a website from a Croatian website talking about the origin of the Moresca dance in Croatia has to say about the topic. A town of Korčula is well known for Moresca, a traditional sword dance and drama that was common through the Mediterranean in 12th and 13th century. So we're going back as far as the 12th and 13th century, reaching Korčula in 16th century from Italy and Dubrovnik. The dance originated in Spain. That keeps coming up a lot. Spain. Now, why would it originate in Spain? Oh, I know. Isn't that where the Moors dominated for hundreds and hundreds of years? Okay. The dance originated in Spain, is associated to the conflict between Moors and Christian. In Dalmatia, its popularity was almost certainly linked with the struggles against Ottoman Empire, above all with the victory over a battle of Lepanto. The first major Ottoman defeat by the Christian powers, which ended the myth of Ottoman naval invincibility, etc., etc. It talks about briefly the dance follows the story of the conflict with the Red King, between the Red King versus a Black King and soldiers, etc., etc. But the point is here that as I was going through the history of this, again, there seemed to be massive cognitive dissonance. So I'll give you a brief overview. On the one hand, they would admit that this dance very likely came from the Moors, who originally came from North Africa, Northwest Africa, into Spain, and from Spain it comes into England. Now they will admit in the papers that it went east into Europe, but when it comes to England, they'll say, well, we're not sure. But it's like you've just admitted that there's something called the Moresca dance east of you. But why would England be like, do you get what I'm saying? Why would England be like cordoned off from the same conclusion? You keep finding this again and again, and it's the same. And this is important. I thought this slide was important because it might be an open and shut case to those who can see. But it's more important in this conversation in documenting this weird psychosis that even academicians can have when they're presenting this thing. So don't take any of these people with big letters after their names and big titles after their names purporting to tell you facts. Because when you dig deep, you actually find, when you pull the thread, you actually find that they're just really hogging onto that sweater. They're really just hogging onto that sweater of, oh, don't take this away from me. This is my thing. And, but that's what I found. Then you've got this quote. This is from a guy, Heaney, on JSTOR, talking about the origins of this again. And he talks about, he says the earliest recording of the word Moorish, as in relating to the dance, was in 1448, and he ties it to he says Moorish. In this here, it says the words themselves do occur earlier in English context, suggesting the meaning Moorish, relating to Moorish culture. So again, if our friend is watching, this is a guy of your heritage, no mix, whatever. He's not second generation anything. His name is Heaney. Oh, okay, maybe he's disqualified because that sounds Irish. So, but this is a white brother telling you that this is linked to Moorish culture. I don't know if you want to add anything there.
No, I think you've done some fantastic research. I don't have anything to add. It's I think it's, and to me, it was proven from the point it was written in the dictionary. To be honest with you, I mean, like, no, and I think what you're doing is great, but it's like, with a lot of these people, I'm not going to flog a dead horse over someone who's clearly just, throwing up strawman arguments, just trying to do anything to, like, no one needs to prove, like you said earlier, no one needs to prove themselves as much as people do in the kind of research that we do. It's like you want me to give 15 times the amount of sources that anyone else doing this kind of research would give. I'm not going to do it. If you don't believe it or you're not interested, I don't care. I really don't care. I'll keep. If it's kind of like it's your prerogative. You know, we've provided you with very, very plausible evidence for the argument. We've provided you with that. It's up to you now what you can, because you're always gonna be able to find some kind of argument to disprove a logical argument that someone puts forward to you. Do you understand what I mean? Like, you're always gonna be, if you don't want to believe it and all you're doing is raising the polemic, you will find evidence to support your polemic. You will find it. It's like what they're doing now with DNA and ancient Egypt. It's kind of like, well, if I get this DNA story, I can kind of twist this marker to mean this and twist that to mean that, and then ta-da! Hey guys, the ancient Egyptians were Chinese. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right, fine.
What they saying that?
Fine. The Chinese, you win. You know.
Thank you, Sir Facton. He says, keep up the fight. Thank you for that $5 super chat. Between 1740 and 1807, Francis Peck, Joseph Strutt, and Francis Douce all agreed that the earliest records were from the 15th century, indicating that it was practiced in the royal and princely courts. Francis Peck and Francis Douce, putting forward the argument that it originated in Spain, derived the word Moorish, referring to the Arabs in Spain, as some dancers, etc. Not Arabs, but yeah, I know.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is, well, look at that. Surprise, surprise. What was written in the dictionary was correct. Imagine the odds.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like you said, the polemics, they often come with no sources, but they don't have to, do they? They don't have to. They just get to say what they want because, well, you know, whatever. Fill in the blank. And we're the ones that have to provide 1,000 sources for what should be like fairly obvious, at least plausible.
I'm feeling Wildflower's comment. It says the dance looks boring now. People with little swagger doing it. It's true. It's dead.
You know what?
It's like, when you leave these guys, we let these guys take over friggin' rock and roll for the past 50 years without a retort, and they've just killed it. It's just dead music now. Everything they take, every time they take something that we created, it will. I give them a maximum of 2 to 3 decades before it's just dead. And this dance has been separated from us for like 150 years now. So that's why it's kind of like.
Well, you know what? Let me say this. That's funny that you should say that, because somebody else said it. Juice 1807 said this: the genuine Moorish or Morisco dance was no doubt very different from the European Moorish, but there is scarcely an instance in which a fashion or amusement that has been borrowed from a distant region has not, in its progress through other countries, undergone such alterations as have much obscured its origin. That's Deuce talking in 1807.
Look at that. You just came with the quote.
Basically,
saying, quote. Wildflower. See that quote? He just put into academic talk what you just said in one sentence.
That's what he's saying. That's exactly what he's saying. He's saying, look, what makes it harder to believe that this dance comes from Moors isn't actually down to them. It's down to the fact that we've changed it beyond all recognition. So unbelievable.
Yeah, it's definitely been too long removed. They need to invite us some Moors back to like get those Moorish dancing groups. You know what I mean?
I want to
back in step. You know what I mean? It's like, guys, you're allowed to use drums now. Yeah, we're gonna put this dance. Gonna put a little 4/4 beat underneath you guys and get you moving proper.
I got white English friends who I've sold this to, and they're like, if that dance originated with you guys, you can have it. You can have it. I don't want to be associated with that dead dance. So even them, even these guys right there know that like this is not the one. If anyone's ever seen the dance live, I think I've seen it. I've seen it once done live. I was in Wales at the time, and they didn't black up or anything like that. But yeah, it certainly was. I was with the missus, and the missus was saying the same thing. She was like, "Oh my goodness, whatever this dance was originally, like it wasn't
It's
this."
gone. Do you imagine what a group of brothers would do with some sticks and some cowbells and some tassels, bro? Imagine, do you know what we'd do with some sticks and some cowbells and some tassels? Are you mad?
Well, do you know what's funny? Because
Trust me,
the sticks
them
that you're
beach fronts would
talking
be
about,
popping.
I know the sticks you're talking about were actually originally swords. It was part of it. It was a sword dance. They would have their
Even
like
worse.
the Moorish scabbards, and the
Right,
guy,
imagine giving a couple of Jamaicans some cutlasses, some
yes,
cowbells, some tassels, and saying, "Yo, Earl, make it happen."
exactly. But yeah. So we've got just some more quotes about it. Really, just some more quotes about it. Shout out to what's his name now? J.A. Rogers. J.A. Rogers put me onto this first.
Yeah,
J.A. Rogers'
massively.
book, Nature Knows No Color Line. He documents. He says this. He says, I didn't go out. I couldn't hunt down the sources he cites, but I think it's we're flogging a dead horse by now anyway.
Now
He
go on,
says
man.
this in his book. He says, also, still another proof of the presence of early Negroes in England is that the Moorish dance, England's national dance, is of African origin. It might have been brought over by Moors with the Romans, and it seems certainly by the Moors with William the Conqueror in 1066. Now, he goes further back than the 16th century, and there
That's
have
crazy. I never saw this quote. I could have
right,
just started here. Got the book
right.
right on my desk.
In fact, the only reason I ended up going to J. Rogers' Nature Knows No Color Line was because I think I saw you quote something from it. So I ended up reading that book because shout out to you for that. But I found this in it, and I thought, wow, okay, this was my the inspiration, the original inspiration for this of asking you to come on. But yeah, he says this. He says it might have been brought over by the Moors with the Romans, and it seems certainly by the Moors with William the Conqueror in 1066. Sir John Hawkins, an earlier authority on music, says it is indisputable that this dance was the invention of the Moor. And then he cites Dr. Johnson's dictionary as well that you cited. He says the Moresca, says Paul Nettle, quote, was originally a dance of the Negroes or Moors and the pantomime of one or more Negroes in blackface. Then quite generally a masquerade or pantomime, and in particular a play or song sketch in which Negroes took part. So that's and he puts his sources down below, does J.A. Rogers. But yeah, again, this is only a debate if you are looking to if you're butt hurt, basically. If you're butt hurt that your traditions are being attacked and your I find that this only happens, the vitriol we get for the content we create about this stuff is only as bad because it's coming from a particular demographic, because it's us. I don't see this vitriol on videos about, I don't know, Vikings, Scots people talking about a tradition that's Viking and claiming that they influenced. I don't see this level of vitriol. And it's sad, but I think we know why that is.
Well, I think people aren't used to the kind of research that like yourself and myself do. Channels like these do. People are used to seeing Black people acquiesce to the academic norm, the educational standards, acquiesce and just do it. And the only people who are allowed to be edgy, the only people who are allowed to go against the grain are people who look like them, So when people like us create content that is counter, counter the narrative, it threatens in more than one way. So it's not always, like you just said, I think you just alluded to it, it's not just the things that we're uncovering. It's the fact we are who we are, and we're uncovering it brazenly and openly. Reveals to them that we're in a different dispensation, which, like I said, leads back to the fact that they're very terrified of that. They're like, oh crap, we're here now. You know, I didn't think, I was hoping we wouldn't get here in my lifetime. These guys are peeling back. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what it is. They find it terrifying, which I find hilarious, but there you go.
They do. Someone says, a Bella Artisan says, like Latinos creating hip hop. I've actually heard that. I've heard of people talking about, I think Fat Joe was talking about how it was Latinos who
Fat Joe's doing too much, man.
Yeah. Fat Joe was saying now, like, what? Flipping heck, man. Come on, give it a rest.
And this is just the thing, like we don't get me wrong, I grew up in hip hop, and you'd have Puerto Ricans, you know, a lot of time involved, leaders of new school, Fushnikins. There's a couple of groups that would have Latino rappers, obviously Cypress Hill, yeah. So don't get it twisted. We know that Puerto Ricans in the early days of hip hop, they were about, but don't for one moment confuse that with the fact that you birthed hip hop. You embraced hip hop, and we embraced you as a result of you embracing hip hop. That's what it was. You embraced hip hop, and Black people are very open. So if you embrace something, we're gonna be like, yeah, cool. You got skills. But don't ever get that confused with you birthing hip hop, because you weren't a part of that story, and it's just doing too much. You know, he's doing too much. And I think Puerto Ricans are gonna get their props anyway. You don't need to try and go for the gold. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? No one's gonna try and exclude Puerto Ricans from the history of hip hop unless you don't know anything about hip hop. Do you know what I mean? Unless you don't know anything about rap, you always got to keep them involved, but don't try and do too much, man. Do you know what I mean? Know your place.
But you know what, King? This is. I've tried to explain this in other lives. Let me try again and do it hopefully better. Why this is important is why it might sound petty to some people who started this and who started that. But why it's important is that on a level, I actually don't care. I think most of us, Black people, are very, as a group, as a demographic group, wherever you find them, we're very open. We let people, we're happy to see other people emulating our culture as a default position. We're happy, like they say, imitation is the best form of compliment, or so we're all about that. But why it's become a toxic place for us, a toxic debate, why it's become a kind of toxic topic, the genesis, the provenance of this cultural thing and that cultural thing, is because it's always been used against us. So we're okay, people, we're chill people claiming that, oh, we had a part in that for the most part. But the reason why it's become toxic is that the same people who are saying that will, less than in a generation, will then turn around and say, what did you bring to the table? You got no culture. Who are you? You know, you and your mud hots and this and that. Like we civilized you. But and that's the thing. It's like, it's not enough for people to then take our thing. They also then have to then turn around and say, what did you ever contribute? That's why it's important. That's why it became, I think Black people have wised up to the fact that actually now we need to protect these things. We need to be petty about it, because everybody is being petty when it comes to the Black man. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you have
I don't think we're petty enough.
Right.
Know? I when I had the geneticist on my channel, she was alluding to this. I tried to get her to talk about it being sneaky, but she said we're too accommodating as a people, and I'll quote her for that, because I think she's spot on. I think as a people we are far too accommodating. We let everyone get away with everything, and we're so quick to offer the olive branch of forgiveness to anyone who can say anything, even before they've even said sorry. You know, they don't have to say sorry. They can do what they want. And we'll be like, oh no, let them go. Like we're just too accommodating. We haven't got that kind of like protectiveness over our, you know, the things we've created. We haven't got that ability to be a bit ruthless and say, no, you're done. Don't ever try and come back to it. Like you've said too much. People aren't scared of being cancelled by black people. They're not scared because we don't cancel anybody. Do you understand what I mean? That's why Fat Joe thinks he can come out and just say, this, that, and the other. Fat Joe was whack anyway. All due respect.
I know. I mean,
Big Pun when platinum before him. You know, no one was listening to Fat Joe.
No,
I think it was just Lean Back. Lean Back was the first track he made after about a decade of being out.
And let's be honest, the main bit of that song was Remy Ma's bit. Remy Ma killed solo in that. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But do you know what? Like, yes, I'm seeing Wildflower say gatekeep. We don't gatekeep well. We don't gatekeep enough, and we need to start doing that. Whereas a few years before, I would have thought, oh, this is better. You know, cultural appropriation. What's that all about? This is rubbish. But actually, I see it now. I see why we have to be defensive of what we originated. Someone earlier in the comments said, jazz. They not even are. They've taken that. They removed that from blackness. It's now a genteel white thing. Jazz was something we were dissed for. Jazz was black music. I think the Nazis banned jazz because it was black music.
You know, the further you go back.
Sorry, go on.
No, I didn't want to cut you off.
No. Please. I want you to go on.
The further you go back, I'm realizing, and I said this on a podcast the other day that's just posted today. I'll post a link for it. I'm going to say it again because you cut it out. It was being a bit PC. So I'm going to say it again. The further you go back in history, you realize that culture, not this culture or that culture is black. And I know that sounds really extreme, but I am finding it really hard to find cultures that don't have black origins. I'm struggling. I'm mostly struggling. Music's a rap. There's no point in even talking about music. The entirety of music, forget rock, jazz, the entirety of music is a rap, going back to classical, whatever it is. Music is a rap. Yeah, there's no point in talking about music. Yeah, that is absolutely black.
Well,
yeah, pretty much every form.
I will not be editing this out.
Yeah, pretty much in every form. Music is of black origin, and that sounds really strong. But my challenge to anyone is to say, okay, show me the music that wasn't originated by black people, and I'll be willing to. I'm all ears. But it's kind of like loads of these, or most of these cultures that people have and they cling on to. Once again, originated by black people, appropriated by the people who came later. Just like we're seeing with, if we're going to call Moorish dancing what it is, it's cultural appropriation. We're all right with it because we're looking at it now as a little whack dance with sticks, who cares? But the bottom line is, in its origin, it's cultural appropriation. It's a dance you saw Moors doing, and then you started doing it, and then you took over it. And that's the story of pretty much everything classified as culture in Europe.
And it's only toxic not because we make it toxic, it's because other people make it toxic, and they say stupid things like again, the Beyonce thing comes to mind. Beyonce makes a cowboy thing, a cowboy song, a western, whatever. Yeah, it's not even fully like western. It's a mixture. It's a kind of, but it's like the whole world melts down.
They got the nerve. They don't know the origins of country music. I think nerd large like. But we all know, like, and this is the thing, it's the gaslighting as well. You know, the gaslighting is crazy. It's like, just because we don't talk about it, that doesn't mean we don't know. Yeah, it doesn't mean that we don't know. So, in fact, I just talked about Elvis. Elvis apparently, actually, who was I in an interview with who told me that Elvis is a Melungeon. So that's where explains a lot, doesn't it? I can't remember who said it to me, but Elvis apparently is a Melungeon. So that's where that comes from. I think it was Dana Marniche, Professor Dana Marniche mentioned it. Yeah.
Wow.
She told me, she was like, no, Elvis was a Melungeon. So he got a little bit of brother in there. That's why
that's why he carried it off so well.
yeah. He had the right amount for him to get record contracts and all that, you know.
Wow. Wow. All right, this has been amazing. This has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, King.
I feel like I cut you off. You had loads more quotes. Do you want to go through them? Because I didn't want you because you look like you done some smashing research there.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it then. Let's do it. I did that because I was thinking.
Yeah, I want to hear some more.
Okay. Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you, because I did not want it to go to waste myself, but I felt like you said, it's flogging a dead horse. But
that was just me being me, by the way. That wasn't me like saying anything about the research you've done. It's amazing. That was me kind of responding to this idiot, because that's the energy I give. You know what I mean? Like, you're not getting any more responses from me.
Let me just quickly do this. But the thing about the Beyonce thing really annoyed me because it got me. I had known about country music having black roots and being started by black people, but then when I looked into it more because of the whole Beyonce thing, it got me even that much more annoyed because it's like, yet again, like you're saying, we have something that was started by black people, and it's annoying because when it was started, it was poo-pooed. It was dissed as got to this and got to that. Less than a generation later, you're appropriating it and divorcing us from it. The very same thing that you said your parents said was trash, and you're divorcing us from it a generation later and making all these billions from. How can
they used to call people? They used to it used to be classified as crazy people's music, jazz and ragtime.
Wow.
And they used to have like articles in the American news where they're basically propaganda, basically saying if you listen to this music while you're pregnant, your child will be born retarded. Whoa. All of this stuff. Yeah. All of this stuff. So the same music that was vilified, you have to go back too far to see the music being absolutely vilified as vile, black, crazy people's music is now like with everything though, isn't it? It's like with everything. What music haven't they done that with, you know?
So I got this quote from Heaney in 2004, and he went back to find out that the word comes from, I'll just read this quickly. In 2002, John Forrest and I announced in Notes and Queries the discovery of a new example of the use of phrase Moorish dance from 1448, antedating the earliest entry known to the Oxford English Dictionary by a decade. This was in one of a series of inventories from Sir John Fastolf's Caister Castle in Norfolk. The inventories, for details of which see our previous article, describe the contents of the castle, including a tapestry, etc., etc. On one of the other inventories was from 1462. The third, possibly preceding our 1448 list, was undated. The undated list called it a Moorish dance or dance. The 1448 text a Moorisk dance, and the 1462 one a Moorish dance. It says in the article, we noted that using a phrase such as Moorish dance to identify the tapestry implied that people reading the kind are from 1466, etc., etc. But I got this out here because I wanted to make the point that I think you've already made as well tonight, which is that you're not calling something, okay, Moorish dance if it has no connections to the Moors as early as 14. And this is just the first recorded entry, the one that we know of. If this is the one that we know of, we know it's not like, oh, right, 1448, someone decided, I will now write this word down, and now it means that this is from this day forth, it's being practiced. No, this has existed. And as J.A. Rogers says, probably like hundreds of years before this, the records of which we don't have anymore, but this being the earliest one that we actually have. They like to do this as well. They say the earliest recorded, that means that's when it was. And that implies almost as though before then it didn't exist. But that's not really what that means. It just means that's the earliest. A lot happens over time, guys. So I'm not sure that every single thing that you're writing down now will, we've got the internet and all, and actually that's actually a bane, because the internet means that things aren't written down on hard paper anymore. So a lot of stuff, if we hit some kind of catastrophe now, a lot of stuff will just go because a lot of stuff is on the internet and not on hard paper. That's a big worry of mine, actually. We need to download on hard
and print.
Go on.
I was saying, and print, download, print. I prefer to. I buy books where possible.
Yes,
I always buy books. I don't like reading from a screen.
Definitely. So am I going to read that? No, I'm going to read that. I read the Francis Beck one, and I read that one. I wanted to read. Yes. So this guy, and I want your input on this, King. If you remember, he said there's little reference to them blackening their faces. Now, when he said that, when this commenter, what's it all about, is his name, when he said that, I twigged. I thought, interesting that he said little reference. So then, so forget whether there's little or a lot. That there's some reference to this practice of people blackening their face. He admitted in the comment to you that yes, it is linked to Moorish, but he claimed that didn't signify anything. But again, this goes back to this weird polemic thing they do. And you can do it with almost anything, as you said. It's like you admit that it's linked to Moorish. You admit that there's some evidence of people blackening their face linked with Moorish dancing pre the 1800s. So where's the debate?
It's the it's the age old. The Egyptians were all colors, not black.
Right.
It's like it doesn't make any sense.
Right. And this quote here is one of those little evidences that he talks about. This is by a lady who made this entry online, and I'll link to the work. She did it for this website called morrisfed.org.uk. Closer to our world, there is some evidence that in previous centuries, Morris was linked to blackface. The owner of the Bentley window said in 1788, quote, "We are authorized to call some of the representations on my window Moorish dancers, though I am uncertain whether it exhibits one Moorish personage, as none of them have black or tawny faces." So the implication there being that this man thinks that, well, if they're Moorish dancers, they should have been painted up. And you alluded to that in the fact that earlier in this live, you said, King said,
or I think that, just to jump in there, I think he's suggesting that if they're going to be Moorish dancers, he's expecting them to be black. I don't think he's talking about them being painted. So it looks like he's looking out the window and he's seen a bunch of non-black or tawny people, and he's like, well, how can these people call themselves Moorish? That's how I'm reading that. He's expecting to see Moors, essentially. And he says, well, none of them have got black or tawny faces, so I don't understand how can I call them what they're doing the dance, but they don't look right.
Precisely. And so that's one reference to that. Good
reference.
We've got that. So I'm going to read J.A. Rogers. J.A. Rogers says this. He says, this is the part I left out earlier. He says, its Negro origin, this dance, is further seen in that white dancers blackened their faces to dance it. There's actually reference of in the Elizabethan court of people blackening their faces to dance this dance. Okay, so the Moresca says Paul Netto was originally a dance of the Negroes or Moors. Again, Paul Netto is not King's Monologue, is not Trillblack on YouTube, a black guy, Afrocentrist. These are English people from way back when saying this. Paul Netto says was originally a dance of the Negroes or Moors and the pantomime of the mask of one or more Negroes in blackface. Then quite generally a masquerade or pantomime, and in particular a play or song sketch in which Negroes took part. In the 17th century, any sort of masquerade was called Mauresque Whoa. Because the guise of the black
Wow.
man was the most important and popular, a phenomenon which points on the one hand to the significance of the black race for the aesthetic life of the whites, on the other hand to the ancient habit of all Europeans to paint the face black on certain occasions of cult ritualism. Wow. I don't know why I'm wowing at that. I don't know why that hit me so hard.
Well, it hit me hard because it kind of agrees with what I was saying earlier about all culture being black in origin.
Mm.
Because he's saying basically any kind of masquerade or pantomime, yeah, wasn't really a pantomime unless Negroes took part. That's a big quote, you know. So once again, I'm talking about us being the originators of culture. These once again, so we're extending now to masquerade and pantomime to other. These are two more very British establishments. You know, I'm sure you've been to the pantomime before. And you say no, these weren't really it unless black people were involved. That's a big statement.
Wow. It is. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And do you know what's funny about J.A. Rogers? He's writing in a time when, like, he could have got a lot of flack for what he's saying, but he's talking. He goes for the jugular in a way that we don't even like today doing what we do. If you read J.A. Rogers writing in 1952, he comes out with a load of like he just sticks it to him. He says, here he says, real Negro minstrels, as was said, were popular at the Scottish court and in London, at least later. They were as popular on the streets as Negroes were on those of Philadelphia in Franklin's time. So again, this guy who says there's little evidence of people blackening up to do dances, called Moorish dances, you know, this patently goes against that. This is him talking about the ancestry of a lot of white European folk, and I think that was it anyway. I think that was all I had prepared. I mean, there was far more I came across, but
no, it's brilliant research, man.
I had to leave it on the cutting floor because you know, like you said, I felt it at the time. I thought this is ridiculous how much there is on this. So you only need to do a bit of digging. And you find that, I don't know, like you said about with ancient Egypt, it's actually there. And we were talking before the live started. I said to you, no, you said to me, you said that the psychological conditioning has worked so well that even on us, when you were doing a lot of your reconstructions, you know, you're finding out like, wow, these people were black. These people were so black.
Yeah.
God, do you want to talk about that quickly before we close?
I mean, you said it perfectly. Like, just before I jump onto that, I just want to go back and just once again say, like, for the research you've done there, thank you for doing that research. Because when I did the video on Moorish dancing, I was very satisfied with what I put out. And I'm very much like that. I'm like, no, I'm happy with what I put out. I don't need to put any more. I don't got nothing to prove it. So I was quite happy to draw a line underneath it. But the whole point of us doing research is so then other people can then, you know, take up the same subject, grow it, expand it, and then more things come out, just like we've learned about masquerade and pantomime. You know what I mean? More things come out as a result of people doing more. So I just want to thank you for just taking the research that step further and being that, you know what I mean, doing that bit more, because it's just everything just sews and kind of like works together in the end. So yeah, I really appreciate that. It was excellent. Thank you for inviting me on. But I think the discussion we were having before, I had mentioned to you that we're all affected by the kind of education system and the mind control that we've gone on, you know, that we've been operating in, and we're not able to see ourselves. We're not able to see what black people really look like. And I think the one I mentioned to you was the colossal bust of Amenhotep III in the British Museum, which I always looked at it. Ironically, I can't remember who I was in the museum with. I think it was with a white friend of mine. This is like years and years ago. And I was kind of like, that kind of looks like a black man. He was like, no, it doesn't. I was like, no, it was a bit, and it's only when I did the reconstruction I was like, this guy is like the blackest of all black. Do you know what I mean? Like, his features are so unquestionably like, you couldn't make another face from Amenhotep III's features. But just the fact that it's a big statue on the wall and they're not caricatures of black features, because we've learned to only see ourselves in caricatures of blackness. You know what I mean? The nose has to be this wide and the mouth has to be this wide, and then we go, oh, that's a black, like the Olmec heads. A lot of people go, they identify the Olmec heads, and like, your nose is like half the width of an Olmec nose, and your lips. It's true, do you know what I mean? But everyone's like, oh yeah, the Olmecs are black. It's like the Olmecs. I don't have anyone in my family that looks like an Olmec statue. The Olmecs are like caricatures of black statues. Black people look like most of the statues in ancient Egypt. That's like your average black people. Do you know what I mean? But it's because we've got this mindset that, do you know what I mean? That's all it was. Yeah, that was it.
I was saying to you also before the live, guys. I was saying to King that I myself, like, now that I can see these things, I walked through the museum. I did a I visited the British Museum late last year, and I just couldn't help thinking, what's going through the people's minds as they're seeing these statues? Because once you see what you can see, you can't unsee it. And I couldn't help like really speaking up. I took recordings, so I think I did a visit like 2 years ago, and I did a live on that. If you guys want to see me just take you through that again, just let me know. I'll be happy to do that. But this time around, I made sure to, like, I was more confident. So when I'm recording what I'm saying, I spoke up, and I wanted people to hear what I was talking about, because I was like, how are these people walking through all of this? And what is the cognitive dissonance in their minds? How are they processing this to where they can't actually see black people? So I made sure when I was commenting on the thing, I didn't muffle what I was saying. Whereas the first time I went, I kind of spoke like underneath my breath, because I didn't want people to think I was some weird Afro guy. But this time around, I just didn't care. And I think the next time I go to something like that, I'm going to be even louder. You know, I might even show myself going up to one of the curators. I got a funny story. Something happened. This lady was talking a whole load of rubbish about the Benin bronzes that are there. And I'm going to say, I'm sorry, I'm going to save that for when I think people will want to hear about this. So I'm going to save that story.
Oh, man, come on. I dropped Mono Matapa on you, man. The king. You got to drop one exclusive. Come on. Come on.
I was hoping you would say that. Okay, go on. So there's this woman, and this is what I'll do the third time. The third time I go, I will be bolder, because what I should have done is interjected in that conversation. I stood by and I heard this. There was this couple. So white guy with what I take was his girlfriend or his wife or fiance or whatever, and the girl was black. And this museum's member of staff was talking to him about the Benin bronzes. And she was basically, I think the black girl was like, why are they here? You know, she was quite polite with it. She was like, why are they here and not where they should belong to, where they originated from? And the lady was doing the most. I mean, the girl was not aggressive at all. And the boy was asking the same thing, that the man was asking the same thing. They looked about in their mid-20s, and they weren't very aggressive at all in their demeanor, but the lady was very, very defensive. And she was going through all this. She just started to waffle. She was talking about how, you know, they're actually better, they're safer here, because in a lot of the places that countries where these things belong, they can't keep them. Like there's a lot of black market selling and instability of the government. That one thing was something that she really, really, really stressed, this instability of government. And I should have come in there. I should have come in and said, well, wouldn't you know, I wonder why there's instability in certain places in the world. Would it have anything to do with hundreds of years of colonialism, like or destabilizing the government through the CIA and all these like kind of what's going on in. I know you don't get political, but that was what I really wanted to say. I really wanted to say that, and I wish I did. And I hung around. I loitered around to intimidate this woman. I was looming behind her. So maybe that's why she got defensive, actually. But yeah, it was just an interesting conversation to listen to. But next time I go, I will. I regretted not interjecting in that conversation, saying, "But you say you claim that they're unstable. But why are these places unstable? Because before they were unstable, they were housed safely. They were sacred, and they were these artifacts and these things were sacred, and the people that owned them kept them. So, who destabilized these regions? You know, so
who's destabilizing these regions? You know, continually. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a good story. It's a good story. It's funny because we're not they obviously they've got the Benin bronzes, but the entire British Museum is just globally appropriated stuff that Britain annually literally has to come out, the Prime Minister or someone or the culture minister has to come out and basically write a polite letter to all the nations whose stuff we have and say, yeah, we're not giving it back this year. We still believe that it's best that it's kept. You know, people have been, and I know what's funny is this is their favorite excuse to use now. People have been coming here for years to see. That's their excuse. People have been coming to Britain for years to visit these, and it would be a shame, you know, it would be unfamiliar if we moved it back to the land from which they were taken. So we're going to hold on to it indefinitely. I think it was even Greece was trying to get back some of their statues. So they got these Greek statues that they stole from like the Pantheon whilst they while they were there for a few, and they obviously acquired them illegally like they acquired everything else. And it's like they write the same letter to the Greeks that they wrote to Nigeria. You know, no, we believe they're well placed here, well placed.
Just genteel thievery is what it is, really. Bro, it's been an amazing live. I'm gonna check that out, Nerd Large. He says a lot of Black Egyptians in current season of Castlevania on Netflix. I heard. I've not really. That's not been my thing. That anime. I'm more into Ippo. Check out Ippo, anyone. Hajime no Ippo. It's a boxing anime. I'm addicted to that right now. But that's if you're into anime. But just because of that, I might check out Castlevania. If there's a lot of Black Egyptians in that advances the cause. I like that. So yeah, check that out. But King, I want to say thank you so much for joining us in this live and for everything that we, you know, just your contribution. So thank you so much, and thank you everyone who's joined us as well. So go out and subscribe if you're watching this after post. Make sure you subscribe to the King Mono Show, and if by some weird occurrence you haven't subscribed to the King's Monologue, make sure you go to that channel as well and subscribe to that. It's great. Absolutely amazing content. I think you got some more stuff coming out soon, King.
Hope so. It's all a little bit of us. I should have a video dropping tomorrow, which is just a conversation I had with Smash Rockwell yesterday.
Cool.
I was supposed to interview him about a different topic, but we just ended up chopping it up and just having a really good conversation about all things Kemet and Medunetta. So yeah, I'll drop that tomorrow, and then we'll see from there what else comes out as new.
Brilliant. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Chris Compton, we're out, man. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Bye, everyone.